Tonight we're talking about the importance of when you find something in family history, and so you put it on Family Search or in Ancestry, that you write clearly enough where it came from that somebody else could find it. Because you might have found the clue that other people need. And so whether or not they can trust it will depend on how much they trust that you really found it and that it's really a good source, a good document. So I kind of have broken this down into 3 parts. The first is the hints you find on Family Search. The next one is, what if you found the document and it wasn't on Family Search or Ancestry? And then the third one is, how do you transfer sources from Ancestry to Family Search or from Family Search to Ancestry?
Right.
And that is probably the one we need to know the most, and that is probably the one that I have the least experience doing. Let's start with the easy one. So I'm going to share my screen and go to, host disabled participant screen sharing. Oh, Diane, can you take care of that?
Well,
Can you call Heather and ask her to fix it so I can share my screen?
uh-oh.
Because that is important.
That's
Everybody's
kind of important.
frozen except me.
I think she must have forgot. Maybe something else happened this week.
Maybe.
Your internet connection is unstable.
Well, that's no good either. Okay, and now when I opened up, I want to get all of your faces on the side, but I want to see my screen too. And maybe I can't do that because I'm not screen sharing. When you follow through a hint on
She
Family
just needs
Search,
help sharing the screen.
it is going to tell you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
When you say, yes, this is the right person, added as a source, it is going to list all of the things that you need in order to be able to find that source again. And it's going to be able to do that because the programmers have made it so that it works. So for example, if I save a census record, hello Heather.
Okay, it should work now. The share screen should work.
Oh, it does. Okay, very good. Thank you for being available.
Hi. Yes, thank you. Bye.
Okay, now you can see my screen. So this screen that I got pulled up is for my great-great-uncle, Samuel M. Michael. And he has only 5 sources, but one of them is a United States Census. And if I click down here on View Source, it is going to show me what the URL is for that specific source. And if I click on that, it's either going to take me to, I expected it to take me to the census itself. Instead, it took me to the screen that they used when they attached it. Somebody else that I don't know has already attached this 1880 census that Samuel Michael's in. But if I go to Tools, I will see the word Review Attachments, and then I can see what is in what the person that attached it saw from the census itself, and what it saw from what Family Search computer experts think matched. And so it said Samuel Michael, and he was born in 1823, according to the census. I have him down as 1825. His wife, according to the census, and this would be the person that indexed it, they said her first name was T.O., and I have her down as Tabitha. In other records, I have found her as Tabitha. But I agree with that attachment, and I can see that. Now, if I go on down to further on the screen, I can see that sons were listed that were attached, but that he also had sons that weren't attached. So by 1880, John and Nancy Ann and Lucinda and Daniel and Susan had already moved on. And that makes sense because Nancy, for example, would be 30 years old. That makes sense that she would have already been married. But that's just showing me the attachment page. If I go on the back arrow back to the other screen, I will be able to see a picture of the image, except that's a very poor picture. If I click on that picture, I get it expanded, and I can see actually the census taker's actual handwriting. So for example, if I want to check on his spelling of Tabitha, or to see if those are really the children listed, I can in fact enlarge this until I see it. And lo and behold, on line 12 is Samuel Michael. And those of you that have heard me talk at length before about my Michael family, see that it's spelled M-I-K-E-L. He's the one that told the census taker what his name was, so the census taker wrote it with the unusual spelling. Samuel, and then G. The rest are just initials, or else William is W-M. Tabitha, that looks like it could be an S even, doesn't it? And it looks like it could be an O. But if we enlarge it more, we can see that it is in fact a T and not an S, and that it is an A. She's listed as a keeping house. For a minute, I thought she was listed as a laborer, and I thought that was unusual, but it's her son that's listed as a laborer. Now, I would want to check out all of the other columns and look and really get acquainted with this family if I didn't already know them. So if this was the first time I had ever seen this census, I would really want to study all the details. I would want to notice, for example, this is the 34th family and the 34th house. If this was if the house number and the family number weren't the same, then I would know that someplace else in this bit of census, two families were living in one house. But I would follow that through. I would follow through their children. In 1880 is about the first time that people told where their parents came from. Well, gee whiz, I'd like to know where Tabitha came from. Samuel's on the dark line, so I can follow that through. He was born in Kentucky, and his father was born in North Carolina, and his mother was born in North Carolina. That matches with what I knew. Tabitha's parent was born in North Carolina, and her parents were also born in North Carolina. So her parents must have gone to Kentucky or eventually to Missouri at a later date, because she wasn't born meanwhile, like he was born during the years they spent in Kentucky. So I would study all those details, and then I would do the attachments like he has done. But by the way, hello Mike, if I was not able to see an index of this, but I just found this in the census, I would still need to know how to find this again. And so I would pay a lot of attention to this stuff that's in the blue line. The blue line says this is the United States Census for 1880, the state of Kansas, the county of that county, and the enumeration district called Little Caney. I think that must be a farm area that they lived in, and it's also the enumeration district 73. So I would want a copy of all of that information so that I could put it down on the source. Let's see what Family Search put on the source for that. They put down, they didn't put all of that information. They put down this blue line, and it's that blue line that when we clicked on it, or if we were to do it this other way, we would click on it and it would take us to that page of the census so that we could see the actual document. And here it's also going to give us the option to see what they saw when they saw the indexed record. And we could check that and look at that if we wanted to. There are lots of times when I see a source that somebody else has listed and I want to look up the original copy. And that's how I do it, is I either do it by reviewing the attachment and clicking on the image, or else by going right to the URL and checking to the image. Every single one of these would be kind of the same. Michael's in the entry for Charity Turner. Charity Turner's the daughter, and when she died, they made that record and listed the parents. Another one that interests me, sort of, is this one. Who are the children of John and Sarah Michael? And the reason, of course, that interests me is that when I finally had figured out who all the children of John and Sarah Michael were, I wrote a book about it. And I have now entered that book as a source. And so let's see if I sourced it well enough. I have a name. There's a citation, and it tells how to find it at the Family History Library. And then the notes are the notes that were added to the book by the Family History Library. Research into the descendancy line of the children of John and Sarah Michael, and it tells about them. So if somebody were to look for this, they would use the information under this citation to be able to find it. Now, there's not a blue line there, but if they were to look, let's see if there's a blue line further down. If they were to look for that in the Family History Library card catalog, they would find it. And I don't see any place here where it lists Family History Library, but that is the exact copy of the citation from the Family History Library. And that is why it's there. The difficult part of this was, in this little publication I did, I have 104 sources. And I am afraid that I never got around to putting all 104 documents in, attached to every person that's in every one of the documents. But for this to really be totally sourced or cited, the citation to be right, that I would have needed to have done that. So that is how you would use the sources to see the sources that somebody else put in. Another interesting thing that you might want to pay attention to is who put in the source. Here's somebody with the computer name of MYTOY. I probably, if he put in something that I hadn't found before, I'd probably want to send him a message. This says he's my 5th cousin once removed. That's nice to know. Often, if you are really working on a big research project, you're going to want to send a message to everybody that's working on your lines, because you're going to want to make many connections with as many genealogy friends as possible. Okay, the next step I want to show you is, and we're going to go back to Samuel Michael's page. So I'm going to go back to details and we'll look at his page. Now, I know that Samuel Michael homesteaded in Kansas. And I know that because I went to a library, a source on the internet that is a marvelous source. It's called the Government Land Records Office. Maybe it's the General Land Records Office for the government. Anyway, I went to that website and said I wanted to search for a patent. And so when I did that, it gave me this screen. And so when I do this screen, I change it from Alabama to Kansas, and I put in his name. His last name is Michael. There's always the possibility it was spelled otherwise, but let's try Michael. And his first name is Samuel. Okay, and so then I click search, and it says, yes, there is a government land records record for Samuel Michael. So I'm going to click on the blue letters for that, and it is going to say that he went to the land office in Humboldt and he bought land. This wasn't a homestead, it says here. It says he paid cash for it. No, gee, it shouldn't, he wouldn't either, because that's what it says here. But let's look at the patent itself and see what the patent itself says, because this is going to be more information. And if we were to do the Fridley printer copy over here, we'd get a copy. We also could do this download and get a copy of the image downloaded to our computer. Now this is kind of interesting. It's in Kansas, and it says that this is on the Osage lands. So in other words, he's moving into lands that the Osage Indians thought that they owned. We apparently didn't pay much attention to that. So it says, and this tells us a little bit more. His name is Samuel Michael, and he lives in Labette County, Kansas. Now the land record wasn't in Labette County because the government didn't have a land office in every county. But if you got government land, either because you got it as your part of your pension from the war, or because they were trying to get settlers to move, so they were selling cheap land, or whether they were giving away land, you went to the nearest government land office. So he is from Labette County, Kansas, and he went to the land register office in Humboldt, Kansas. Now, because this is a government land record, for some reason, they didn't list his wife. Now, I went to the county courthouse in Labette County, Kansas, and they looked this up, and they found that this often happens. When people buy land for the first time, they often tell where they're moving from. And when they sell land for the last time, they often tell where they are moving, where they came from or where they're moving to, depending on whether it's the first time they buy or the last time they sell. So I would have liked it if it would have told me where he came from. But in the deed at the county courthouse, it said he came from Macon County, Missouri. And I had looked for him in Adair County and not found him. So I was glad to know that he was from Macon County. And also that deed at the courthouse told me who his wife was. And I didn't know who his wife was before that. But this goes on to tell me the precise location of the land, so I can look at a map and I can trace it down. It says that he bought the land under the Joint Resolution of Congress approved the 10th of April, 1969. And then it tells me that it's which section it's in, which township it's in, which corner of that is. So I can get a map and I can know exactly where his farm was in Labette County, Kansas. Then another thing that I always think is fun about these government land records is that it says that this is signed by President Ulysses S. Grant, President of the United States, and then it's going to usually tell me, and I don't think it does in this case, instead of just saying the such and such day of July 18, Oh, it does too, say what I'm trying to say. It says, and the independence of the United States in the year 94. Being a citizen in this country was so important that on government documents, instead of just telling you the year, it told you how many years the government had been the United States government. I've always thought that was interesting. So I now have that document, and that document is important to me. So I'm going to go up to this line, that's the line of the address that the computer had to go through to find this document, and I'm going to turn it blue. And when I turn it blue, it tells me, if I were to later type in everything that's on that blue line, it would tell me I could go right to that, right to the same place. So once I've turned it blue, I'm going to do Control C. And Control C is how the computer remembers things. I could also type the right-hand mouse button and hit the word copy, but it's a little faster to do Control C. So now I go back to Samuel Hugo Michael's page, and I go back to the word sources, and then I go up to the top of those sources, and it's going to give me the option to add a source. So I'm going to add a source, and it says add a new source. I choose that, add a new source, and now it gives me this thing to fill out. So the event date was, do you remember what day in July? Was it the 10th? 1869. Okay. The source title was Government Land Records Office. I think it called it General. I've always called it Government. General Land.
It's like a progress. Yeah, cool.
What?
What is it?
General Land Records Office.
Let me turn me on.
It works better if you spell it correctly, of course. General Land Records Office, Land, Patent. Boy, am I goofy on my typing. Land, Record, Land, Patent for Samuel Michael. Then it says, what is the URL? So I'm going to do Control V, which will paste in everything that we had copied in blue. Where is the record found? The record is found in the Bureau of Land Management records. Online at above URL. Describe the record. Deed from U.S. government to Samuel Michael of Labette, Kansas. Is there anything else we need to put in the record? My husband says, make sure you add the year, okay? Explain why I'm attaching this source. Documents that Samuel Michael was living in Labette, Kansas in 1869. I'm going to put further research at County Courthouse adds his wife was Tabitha Souther, and he moved from Macon County, Missouri. Then, what new did I learn in this source, or what is verified? His name is verified, and that's really the only thing that's verified in that deed. Do I want to add this to my source box? The source box is a place in Family Search that keeps track of any sources that I have added myself. So yes, I want to add it to that. Okay, now I have sourced a record that I got from another place. Now I think I want to also add that under memories as a document. So if I am lucky enough to go through all of the documents that I saved on my crowded desktop, and of course it will be saved without a name, but just with a number. So there it is. No, that's not it. Yeah, that is it.
That's what I thought it was.
Okay.
Oh, no, Nancy. You've got Samuel Hugo instead of Samuel Michael.
Oh, you're right. And do you know what's interesting? They were both in Labette County, Kansas. And they both have homestead papers. And when they bought land from the government, is it this one maybe?
Very likely. It says patent.
It says today. Is today the 16th?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's go ahead and put it in, and if it doesn't look right, we can delete it. That's going to take it a while to process. Now, if this document listed anybody else besides him, we would want to also do the little thing where and it's going to take a while to process because they have to look at it and they probably are busy on Sundays. I would want to take, just like I've showed you before,
You
would
can
it
still
tell
do
you
things. even
other
in the process.
people? And so here's a letter, if it'll ever pull up.
Nancy, did you hear from
No.
Diane, I think?
What did you say, Diane?
Usually I can still do stuff even though it's still processing. It'll let me go in there and add people and
It didn't look to
tag
me
it.
like it was. Did it look to you like it was?
If you click on it, go ahead and click on it.
I think she's going to be right. But I think it's going to be a little slow. I would want to make sure that I did the little trick of tagging everybody that was in the document if anybody else was in the document. But since nobody else is in the document, besides him, he would be the only one that I would tag. But if this had listed his wife and told me her name for the first time, boy, I would certainly want to tag it so that it showed that. Maybe it's not pulling up because it hasn't processed yet. I'm not sure exactly why. Now, so this was a big part of what the Chestnut family wanted to see tonight. Did I go over it carefully enough that you understood what I was doing? If not, raise your hand. If so, raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing everybody's hand but Angel's. Okay, now then the next source is, or the next thing we want to learn about citing is, what about if we find something in Ancestry and we want to move it over to Family Search? Now, I had a little bit of trouble finding one to show, and I thought I had it all found, and then when I came back to it, I didn't find it. but I think that this one here will be about the same. I have opened up the page. I have opened up the hint list for Charles Edward Everett. And this is, oh, that wasn't the one I thought I was getting. Well, let's do it anyway. This is the Colorado State Census for 1885. It's always possible this is already on Family Search. The one that I had researched before wasn't already on Family Search. So I want to review it. So it says, is this the same person as the person in your tree? And so I can look down and see what the indexer said. The indexer said that this is the census for 1885 in Pueblo, Colorado. Now, we all know that the censuses were done every 10 years, starting in 1790. How come they had a census in 1885? When a state was getting ready to join the Union, they did a census in the 5 years after, as a way of checking the members of the people that lived in that state more closely, so they could verify, yes, this is a reasonable thing to do to let them join the Union. So this says Ches E. Everett. Ches E. Everett sounds to me like Charles Edward Everett, okay? Age 26, and I can compare that to the Family Search record, and we will want to do that. This makes sense to me because I have looked him up before. He's in Pueblo, Colorado. He's married, and he has 3 children. The baby hasn't been named yet. So does this person match the person in your tree? I'm going to click yes, but I'm not going to save it yet. Okay, so now I have here on this side what's in my tree, and this side what's in the census. So Charles Edward Everett is a better name. That he was born about 1859 is about the same. And in the census, it just says he was born in Ohio, but I know he came from Coe Ridge in a county's name that I can't pronounce. I know that in 1880s, he moved to Pueblo, Colorado, and that his wife's name was Ida, and that those are his children. So yes, that is the same. Now, anything that I wanted to transfer over to the tree that was not listed before, I can put a little check mark in. So I don't have already in my tree that he was in fact living in Pueblo County, Colorado in 1885, and that he was married, and that he was the head of the household. But so now I can save that to my tree. And now all of that has been added to his profile page, and this is his profile page. Now I had hints selected, so it's still showing me all the other hints. Let's go back to facts and look at his facts instead. Now, as one of the sources, it lists the Colorado State Census. If I come up here to my icon that says Family Search, it's got an arrow on it. And let's see what it says. It says, compare this person on Family Search, or view this person on Family Search, or add relatives from Family Search to Ancestry, or disconnect the person from Family Search, or request ordinances. Gee, I'm curious what ordinances he does not have done, because we thought we did them all. Must be his second wife. So I'm going to say compare to Family Search. Now, as I compare them to Family Search, I have Family Search information on my left hand of the page and Ancestry information on the other side. Now I can look and it says, okay, you have the name the same, the gender the same, birthday the same, and the county even is listed there. Death is the same. If it had been different, if there was something new to learn, we would have had the same set of little squares. You know, those little squares that I checked to get to add the fact that he was residing in Pueblo in that year. I could have checked that. Now here it does say that in Ancestry, it doesn't list that he was in the Colorado State Census. That is exactly what I wanted to add. So if I click that, it's going to move that over to Family Search, and it's going to have all the citation details that we've already talked about that I would want to be able to find, so I could look up that census myself. But I have to remember to keep going down until I get to the button that says Save Changes. I say Save Changes, and now if I go back to him on Family Search, and is this him on Family Search? No, I will need to find him on Family Search. So the way that I will find him on Family Search is looks like I have to open up Family Search. I will find him on my family tree. And I'm going to go off portrait. I'm going to go to landscape because it's easier to work with. And I'm going to find him right here. I'm going to open up to see his page on Family Search. I'm going to go to Sources. And I'm going to look down and see if I see the 1885 census. And is he there yet? I missed him. Do you miss him?
What year was it?
1885?
Yeah, I didn't see me either.
Is it in there?
No.
I don't see it.
I kind of would have expected it to be the top one. Well, I have just showed you how how neat something works, and it didn't work.
By clicking options and then do it chronologically and see if you can find it that way.
Nope. I think the chronological order is a good order, don't you think?
Yeah. That should be with them.
Well,
Maybe it's the weekend, so.
maybe it's the weekend. Maybe I didn't hit the OK button loud enough. Charles thinks it's the weekend.
I had a question on when you push the little green, when you're on Ancestry and you push the little green button to go to Family Search,
Okay.
it asks you about ordinances.
Yes.
And is that just set up?
Why would Ancestry know about
is that just set
know
up?
about ordinances?
Okay,
wasn't,
but
Nancy.
is that just for members of the church, or?
It's just for members of the church who have a membership through Ancestry, through the church, Ancestry membership through the church, who have gone to a person in their profile and had then this Family Search icon added. It's not going to add them it's not going to have that until I pull up somebody on my family tree in Ancestry that is in Family Search, and I click on this button and I say compare the person on Family Search. Then once I have done that, then it's going to show up. How do I get him back?
So that is just isolated to members of the church, not
Just isolated to members of the church. Let's see what ordinance is available. So that is one of the reasons why members of the church need to use both Ancestry and Family Search. Okay, it's not giving me any details clicking there. I'm going to come over to his own page and click ordinances, and they're all gray. Shouldn't be. If they're all gray, they've all been done.
maybe that means there's none available to do.
So the one thing I'm thinking it's possible is if it's children of his second wife. When Charles Everett and his wife divorced, she went her way fighting for suffrage full-time, well, as full-time as you can be and take care of 10 kids. And he married again, Georgia Wingate, and had additional children. So it is possible that the additional children are not sealed to him. We, until lately, did not pay very much attention to the second wife. Most of us probably didn't even realize that she meant that she had more children. But no, so no ordinances are showing there. So why, Diane, do you know why Ancestry would say there are ordinances available and they're not?
I think maybe it's just a default. Maybe it says it with everybody, regardless of whether they do or not. It's just one of the possibilities.
Okay.
That'd be a little spooky if everybody that clicked that little button up there, but that just comes if you're coming through the church.
Only if you're LDS. This
Okay.
little icon of Family Search is, you're only allowed to look back and forth between Family Search and Ancestry if your membership is one of those free to church members
Okay.
memberships. So Charles can see this when he looks up his family on his membership. If he looks up his family on his aunt's membership, it doesn't show. But we would also want to pay attention. Are there children on my Ancestry file that aren't on Family Search, or are there children on Family Search that aren't on Ancestry? So we'd want to compare them. We also, and again, would want to make sure we'd checked it real closely, but if there were relatives from Family Search that aren't on here, we'd want to mark it. Now, if he was the last person on the line on my Ancestry tree, if I clicked Add Relatives from Family Search, it would let me add 4 generations of his stuff into my Ancestry records. So that is one of the ways that you can get Ancestry and Family Search to work together. Another one, and you'll have to tell me if I'm right about this one, Diane, but as we go back to, I need to go back to somebody's, I need to go to somebody's details page. And on this corner up here, well, right here, it says search records, and it lists all of the different sites, companies that give companion, not companions, maybe they're partner. Every one of these that gives a partner membership, it lists them here. And if I click on them, it will take me to Ancestry to see what Ancestry can tell me about a general search for Charles Edward Everett. So that quick, I get a list of all of the records that are hints for Charles Edward Everett that I might want to look up in Ancestry. And I probably, if I'm looking on if I'm doing serious research, I'm going to want to look up each one of these and see if I already knew about them. So, and this one right down here, I don't think this is mine. I can, write off, I don't think that. But as I go through these are going to be good ideas for me in my research.
One thing just to mention, well, two things just to mention. When you get to that and it says 56,000, people are going to be overwhelmed. So you can go in there and edit and refine it. Another thing you can do is up at the top, if you're back there again, it says categories. You can click on categories and it helps you to narrow it down a little bit by category. So you can either go by edit. On the left-hand side where it says search filters, there's a place where it says edit search. So you can either narrow it there or you can go by categories and narrow it that way, because you'll know for sure you don't want any London, you don't want any Surrey or Norfolk, Australia, and you can kind of go down and see.
And by not clicking on those, I'm going to get rid of 7,298 that are on the list.
So categories will help narrow it down, or to go over to the left-hand side down, right where your mouse was, almost there, where it says edit search, a little bit farther to my left. Yeah, right there. And then they can click the box, match all terms exactly, and then up there where it says Charles Edward and Everett, then you can do sound Xing in there. And you can narrow things down. You could click out marriage, take it out, take out death, just play around with it where you can take out father, mother, and narrow it to different ways that you want to do it.
Or add father and mother.
Yeah, but you don't always want to add father and mother, because that will narrow you so far that only thing you could possibly get is a birth or a death record.
Now, see, what Diane has told us are very important search tips that we would want to know when we search in Ancestry. And we do some very similar things when we search in Family Search. If we were to do a search back in Family Search, and we would do the searching not under Family Tree, but under Search. And then we'd say we want to search records. And we might want to search by the collection title, like 1885 Census Colorado. Or we might want to search the residence and put the place where they lived during a census, and then click on type, put census. And those things, as we narrow in, whether it's on Ancestry or Family Search, we're going to save ourselves a lot of time and be much more likely to find something quickly. But when you are searching in Ancestry or in Family Search, you have to realize that you are searching through so many billion records that if at first you don't find what you want, change some of these search parameters and you just might find the right person. Or sometimes just do a general search and you're going to be surprised as all get out, like I was when I found my Uncle Don coming back into the United States from World War II, which gave me all of the details I needed to find his military record. So sometimes do a general search, but often give search parameters. And I think as I use Ancestry more, I'm going to get better at the parameters that Diana suggested to us. And I know I keep getting better at how to do it in Family Search. So we have talked tonight about how to cite a source using hints, how to cite a source from your own documents, and how to, theoretically, how to find a source in Ancestry and scoot it over to Family Search. Comments?
Good job.
Thanks, John. Is that something you can use? Did any of you see something tonight that you haven't had much experience doing before?
Yeah.
Yeah, me.
Yes, yes.
Good. Okay, then the lesson was worth a lesson, huh?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome.
So tonight we did this planning on what the Chestnuts would like to see. So I don't have 2 of the weeks in September Diane's going to teach, but I still have 2 more weeks in August prior to that. What topics should we cover? I think maybe it's time to do census again. Is anybody interested in doing the census again?
No.
Nobody?
Not me.
What do you learn with that, Nancy?
Well, what I was thinking of for you, Alice, is I'm thinking that we need to start in 1790 in Connecticut and figure out which Covey families lived in Connecticut in 1790,
Yeah.
and then see who lived there in 1800, and then follow them through, and so that we know more about all the Covey families, so we can find out which one is ours or what. I think that's the next step for our brick wall with you, is to just thoroughly study the Coveys in Connecticut censuses. Not just in the years that he was supposed to live there, but who else lives in the same county, and who else lives the next county over, and who else lives in the state altogether.
Oh,
Yeah, I think beginning research in the census is extremely good. I've done several things for friends that you start from now and go clear back to the 1700s by bouncing from one census to another, and you know, they're not interested. They're just interested in taking it back as far as they could. So I think learn how to
That's
do
why I
that.
like Ancestry for censuses, because it's like, once you find them on a census, you have a whole lot of suggested records. And some of those are other censuses and other records. So whenever I'm doing census research, I always use Ancestry.
Okay.
Okay.
I've thought that sometimes Ancestry search mechanism for censuses was better than Family Search. When I started, there's a lot of errors.
There's creative ways of finding people. Because I think, did you mean that Family Search is probably better a little bit? But there's creative ways of finding them on Ancestry. But if you can find them once, it's great, because then you have just
That
a lot.
Ancestry helps you find other options, other years.
we found him once, but then he died as soon as we found him, you know, right then.
He just died too young. He just didn't leave us enough paper trail. Yeah. When I solved my Charles Orrin Everett with proof, the first thing I did to get that solved was I found all of his brothers and sisters and all of his children in all of the censuses. And then I could find his parents in the census and him as a child and moving from Gloucester, Maine, and New Gloucester, Maine, and that was just, the rest fell into place.
I also thought maybe the shipping records, but
To find,
I'd have to have more information, like a date and stuff, before I could do shipping.
well, because you thought he was a sailor, or because you thought he came to the United States?
Because he came to the United States, which I could be wrong.
Now that would be, probably for that, you would want immigration records on the ships. And that's one of the classes Diane's going to teach. A class I haven't taught, maybe never, is migration in the United States. Where did people likely move to and from? And they followed immigration paths very, very clearly in the first couple hundred years in the United States. So that's one maybe we want to do.
I'd be really interested in the migration one, Nancy.
Would you?
Yes.
Okay. I maybe would want, if you've got your tree on Ancestry or Family Search, either one, wherever it is, I maybe would want to look that up before I did that record. Now, I don't think I can do that lesson the next couple of weeks because I am leaving tomorrow morning to go to Missouri, and I'm going to be at my daughter's house for a week, and that's not going to be a good week for preparing a lesson. And then when I come back, I'll come back just in time for surgery, and that won't be a good time for preparing a lesson.
Well,
So
maybe later on.
we'll have to do lessons that take less preparation for the next couple of weeks.
You're still going to do them though, Nance?
Yeah, I might as well. Maybe I can get a couple of Lydia's daughters to watch. No, that won't work. The one I want to watch the most went to college yesterday. Well,
Who went to college?
Abby.
Abby.
She bought her car and went to Truman State University. So, I think John's through for the night. Mike, how do you feel about saying our closing prayer?
Sure.
Thank you.
Father in heaven, we're thankful this day for Nancy and her efforts that she's put forward on these lessons. And we're so grateful, Father, that you have provided a way for us to help our ancestors, to get to know them and to further their progression. We're thankful for all thy efforts in our behalfs, and we're thankful for the blessings that thou hast given us. And we say these things humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Sure.
So we'll do censuses next week just because I'm in the mood, huh?
Sounds good.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.